Okay. I think we're live. We're live, everyone. We made it. We're still alive, and it's another week. It's amazing. It's fantastic. So, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's a privilege to be here with you. Now, I must say, we've got a ram-packed show today. We come to you live on all the social media that you're watching on at the moment in time. So we're live to you on all the social media channels. That's really lazy. We need to get better at that. We're live on all the social media channels that you're watching right now at this moment in time to come to you to help you to get the people in your business right. That's our focus. We're here to help you to create an environment that your staff want to belong to, but also makes your business productive, gives you value for money, and helps you to grow and meet the goals that you have in your business. Equally, if you are watching live and you can't watch us live for the whole hour that we may be on for, then please, that's absolutely fine. Go on to our podcast. You can download the podcast from wherever you get your podcast. Again, it's getting really lazy, right? So wherever you get your podcast, you can get access to the recording. So we're live, it's Thursday, and the recording goes out, of course, onto the podcast tomorrow. So go ahead, download that. It's the HR man, that's me, coming in and helping to go through these different bits and pieces. Woo! Deep breaths, because I feel there's a lot to go through right now. And this is a test for me as much as anything else. Because obviously, with this particular process, there are so many employment law changes that are likely to be coming up, may be coming up in the next year, that it's just astounding. I mean, normally every April, every October, we have a raft of different changes, like, you know, the national living wage will increase and the amount you can pay for maternity and sick pay and all these other bits and pieces, statutory stuff kind of goes up. There may be some other little tweaks and little things around the sides that you have to be aware of. And maybe in a year, you'll get one or two real biggies that will come out that you need to be aware of that make real massive changes. Well, this year is a bumper year for all of us in terms of the amount of changes that are coming up. And it really does. I'm just going to get this put up here. It really does make life good for the workers and staff. Obviously, they're there for a purpose, but it's really challenging for employers as well. You think about what we're going to be going through this year in 2023 with inflation and all the other stuff. I mean, this is going to be a really challenging year for business, full stop. So to add these other bits and pieces in is just going to be eye-watering. And one of the key things for us is obviously one of our core values. You'll see it in the title, simplicity. This shit gets complicated at the best of times. We're already in a complicated environment. This is just going to make it even worse. So what I want to do is just like a test for me as much as anything else. So I will be referring to different bits and pieces just as we go through to make sure that we're keeping on train, we're keeping accurate with some of these changes that are coming up that are going to be impacting on you. Of course, it goes without saying, as we go through, we'll be breaking these down in any case in separate videos afterwards. But this will also go out in our training platform. So for those of you that are our retained clients or on an HR Lite, you'll get access to this to play back anyway and to go through. But what I would say is, look, in the comments below, either in whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Put in the comments below what you think about some of these changes. What are the big ones that are going to impact on you? Which are the big ones? If you're a member of staff, you're an employee or a worker, which ones are you looking forward to come in? Which ones do you think, shit, that wasn't in the first place? I can't believe that wasn't even there. Put them in the comments below. Let us know. Give us some feedback. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll be looking to share them as we go forward in terms of everything else that we're doing. So that'll be fantastic and massively helpful. Look, like I said, we are massively, in terms of time, under the cosh here. So I really want to move on to our next Piece of business. So, Post Brexit Reform and the retained EU law bill. Just before we start going through this, there are going to be some complexities, and I'll come through them in a minute. But there are a raft, and not just in employment, but in general kind of law, that when we exited the EU were put in place for a period of time that have to then be reviewed. So we've got up until the 31st December this year, 2023, to review a series, a raft of different laws that if we don't ratify them and keep them into UK law. So we've got to expressly retain these. We've got to say we want to keep these laws in place. Thank you very much, past that particular date. Otherwise, they cease to remain law within the UK. So just to put this into perspective, I want to go through three core areas. There's a raft of health and safety ones, I believe, that would potentially also be impacted by this. And by the way, guys, if we have anybody health and safety that wants to mention those, come on in, put them in the comments, add to the conversation. But there's a raft of change that are going to happen. But one of the three areas that will really predominantly be impacted by this, believe this or not, is the working time regulations, 1998. So everything that sets out that obviously you've got the legal right to opt out of the 48-hour working week if you wanted to. That sets out how about rest periods, breaks, the weekends, and the 11 hours, and all those different bits and pieces about how you should work, the breaks between shifts that you should be taking, your right to be able to work less than 48 hours, which is written in there unless you opt out, the ability to opt out, all those different bits and pieces. We refer to these constantly when you're looking, especially at the shift workers. So shift workers, or if you're working in multiple places, you could easily be going over the 48-hour working week. And by the way, it's not as simple as going, oh, I've worked more than 48 hours this week. It's a case of it's worked out on an average of 17 weeks. So it's looking over the course of 17 weeks if you worked over the 48-hour week. All those things at the moment in time are in law. They've come across as we exited the EU. We need to expressly say we want to retain those. There could be changes that could come up to those as well. So it's something to be aware of. The other one is TUPE, the transfer of undertakings, the protections in place for when you move from one employer to another employer. And, this is the weird one for me because not everybody's heard of TUPE. And of course, we do quite a lot of TUPE. And it's quite commonplace. And, it's really, really fundamentally important because if you are moving from one employer to another, so for example, if one business is taking over another business and they're bringing those staff in, it's about your protections for you as an employee. It's about your own protections if you're contract employment, your kind of hours that you've been working, all those things would come across with you. It's protected under that process. And not just at the point of transferring, but potentially after that period of time too, because you can't make alterations and changes that ultimately come back to the actual transfer itself, unless it's under what's called specific terms, in which case you can, which is organizational, technical, or economic, so an OTE. So you can in those cases, but you have to be very specific. So there are huge protections for staff there that, if something happens that's completely out of my control, at least I know that realistically for me, where I am right now today, there's not going to be this huge change. My pay's not going to change. The hours I work aren't going to change. I'm not going to go through this massive turmoil myself because of something that's completely not to do with me. So for you guys, that's a really important one. And I think that kind of gets understated and forgotten about because not many people outside of this world kind of understand and know that. Agency workers regulations as well is another one. So, in terms of things, we all know about employment rights and rights to staff and employees, but there are also rights to people that come to you who work at an agency or through an agency for a period of time, normally 12 weeks or more, and also to those that are workers. What's a worker? We're thinking about people that are 0-hour workers. So we talk about bank staff. So if you have a bank pool, so we work quite a lot with our clients, they all get a raft of rights. So eventually things like annual leave. Yes, Yes, those people that work 0 hours, they get annual leave. Yeah, just bear that in mind. That's one that commonly gets forgotten. What? But all those regulations that have been put in place, they will all potentially just drift away. So we need to watch this space. What's going to happen? Something's got to happen between now and the 31st of December. And it's likely that, there could be a raft of changes that could come in on the back of this. Of course, it gives an opportunity to be able to put in place these tweaks and edits around the sides on these laws. Some of them may just stay the same, be transferred across, but it's an area we must keep a firm eye on. So, next, oh my God,